Ahsoka, Balance of Truth, Book 1, Chapter 7. Obi-Wan, this will be the last time. I know, Master Yoda, Obi-Wan cut him off abruptly. In focusing intently all these years on what is to come, I have foreseen this moment countless times. Obi-Wan, a need to see him Ahsoka has, Yoda finally admitting to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan had repeatedly foreseen the encounter and dissuaded Yoda whenever the subject was broached. As you know, I don't agree with your reasoning, but counseling her about what the boy means may be the best approach. I don't want to lead her to the farm. There is too much present that would navigate her away from her destiny. Your point, again, well taken it is, Yoda replied thoughtfully. Dangerous this situation is. One small step, or emotion unchecked, prevent the boy's destiny at will. We decided long ago that the truth could not be ours alone to safeguard. We have done our parts, Master. Fate will dictate its own outcome from now on. Shrouded in mystery, it will be for me to call Ahsoka again. From you, a message would be more appreciated. Her destiny, an open book it is. Unpredictable her actions are, and alive it has kept her, Yoda said with a satisfied grin. In her, I sense a struggle, Master, which is why I will counsel only. As you said, she can be unpredictable, but that has always been her nature. I will reach out to her in due time, soon, as I see events unfolding rapidly, Obi-Wan was hesitant to admit, as it was his chosen charge to look after Luke and manipulate all dangers to other endeavors. He knew his own destiny was close to being fulfilled. Throughout the years, Yoda had never asked Obi-Wan to counsel him on his visions, as it was Yoda's chosen charge to keep a vigilant watch on the present. May the Force be with you, Master Yoda. May the Force be with you, Master Kenobi, Yoda finished. The sprawling collection of architecture from all over the galaxy made any view of Nar Shaddaa a mass of confusion and provided a feeling of being permanently lost. Kawani navigated them from the hangar bay and through twisting tunnels of permanent, root-formed indigenous dwellings, prefab temporary housing, and other buildings built from space junk and decommissioned ships. On top of being a jungle of patchwork buildings, sentients were packed in every street and path across the galaxy. Smugglers looking to unload, pirates roosting and enjoying downtime, pickpockets and thieves, peddlers and merchants trying to feed their families, criminals and bounty hunters either looking for a score or in the active pursuit of their chosen professions. Business was being conducted in one form or another everywhere she looked. Ahsoka was glad to be among it all and was surprised to admit it to herself. She spent the bulk of her time facilitating rebellious raids and conversely committing treasonous acts upon the Empire. For the most part, she had been in hiding or on the run, sometimes both, for well over a decade. It felt good, even for an abbreviated period, to be Ahsoka. Here she wasn't even that, just another being on a moon full of them, with her priorities and her own agenda. The sights and sounds were overwhelming, more so now that the place had become a sanctuary for not only galactic criminal elements, but also refugees displaced by the ongoing Imperial cause and those looking to leave the authoritative eye of the Empire in general. The smells were intoxicating one moment and repulsive the next, and everything at a price here if someone knew you wanted something bad enough. Kawani turned two more tight corners and led them into what was advertised as Umbro's tea house. Whether it was tea Umbro served or anything else, Ahsoka didn't care. She was joyfully enjoying the experience. Nichu Wanawanga, un chalbaso, the Nubian male said in perfect Huttese from behind a counter, clearly in recognition of Kawani. His ebony skin glimmering from the sweat, all on Nar Shaddaa profuse, due to the insane heat and ever-present humidity. For that reason, most on the moon wore little to begin with. Feeling warm herself, Ahsoka knew she was overdressed, but dared not remove the hood. Several other patrons were in this small, dimly lit place, paying no attention to the newcomers or the exchange of greetings. Nichu, Umbro, Kawani replied just as flawlessly. San Marcelo, uncle? Umbro, who had returned directly to filling mugs after his initial greeting, did not look back up. Nolia Dobera. This way, Kawani tugged at Ahsoka's arm, leading her past Umbro and through the door adjacent to the counter. The room, which was Ahsoka's guess anyway, was pitch black with only a small amount of illumination emanating from the back corner by a cam vid, currently displaying Umbro carrying a tea of filled mugs to a group of 4 Dugs. Ahsoka could hear and place the 3 other beings in the darkened room with them, each by either the attempts of veiled breathing or quickened heartbeats. As soon as she heard the telltale click and whine of the blaster's safety being turned off, she had her sabers out and ignited, detailing every inch of the room in stark white. Surprise was an understatement. A pale, purple-complected Nemoidian, an orange-skinned Zabrak female, and a human male made up the company, all of which had not adjusted to the immediate presence of the blinding light. "Let's just turn that safety back on, shall we?" The down key pitch let her know the power cell was switched back off the blaster. "That's much better," Ahsoka finished. "Garand, illuminators, please," said the Zabraki as the human male touched his wrist twice. The central light in the room flickered a few times before deciding to remain on. Ahsoka sensed unease, but no longer the hostility from a moment before, as she began lowering her sabers, switching them off. "Those certainly stand out," the Zabrak said to Ahsoka. "Kinda puts you in exclusive company, but I must say I've never seen white before." The authoritative voice finished quite poetically for Zabraki's speech. "I've made a habit of standing out for a while now, and have no intention of changing my approach," Ahsoka retorted flatly, extinguishing her blades as she rose to her full height again. "Now that the dramatics are behind us, we can conduct business and realize we're all on the same team here," Kawani remarked. "Teth, I appreciate the caution, and I'm sure my friend also does," she added with a glance at Ahsoka. Yes, you're never accompanied by anyone or anything outside of that dumb droid of yours, though," the Zabrak said as her heartbeat returned to normal. "That dumb droid is currently delivering your Klauzon," she shot back. "I just meant that... Oh, never mind." Teth knew she didn't have to apologize, as she was certain Kawani caught the sarcasm. "Payment will be unnecessary," Kawani cut her off. Ahsoka, shooting her a sideways glance, hadn't expected that. Who was this Miri Allen indeed? The human, Garand, noticed the glance but said nothing. "Che, send the payment anyway," Teth told the Nemoidian. "First, to ensure the fuel is secured. Second, as our way of ensuring the crystals do not become the property of the Empire," she said with a grin directed at Kawani. "Payment sent, Teth," Che said needlessly, followed by 3 cadence beeps on Garand's wristcom device to notify them the cargo had been secured. "Thank you for that, Annie. It'll do some good in this crazy empire of ours," Tess said with deep emotion. A low bow from Kawani that Ahsoka quickly duplicated ended the transaction, Kawani leading the way back out of the doorway. Back in with Umbro in a much more crowded area than before, Ahsoka quickly and reflexively scanned the newcomers as the door slowly slid into place behind them. Clicking quietly, an audible register that security measures were enabled. Ahsoka started. "Later," Kawani replied. "We have a distraction to muster, correct?" She stated more than asked, retaking point. Seeing nothing, but more importantly sensing nothing of import among the room's newcomers, Ahsoka followed Kawani's lead back into the street. "Punu Ata," Ambrose stated while sweeping the floor around the corner, his eyes entirely on the job at hand. "Punu du Waigowana," Kawani elaborated with a swooping bow to the tea house owner and assembled customers, leading Ahsoka back the way they had come. She abruptly veered down a street that they had not taken before. This one was like the others, assorted merchants peddling wares, cat house Twi'leks, male and female, loosely attired, beckoning those with credits to spend to get lost for a few hours. Raucous cantinas, shops selling freshly crafted edibles from across the galaxy. Ahsoka suddenly felt a pulse of force energy that almost stopped her in her tracks, but was gone as quickly as it arrived. Her nostrils tingling, sensing the general direction of the epicenter but not the direct source. Again, the wave, however more subtle, as if it knew it should de-amplify upon getting her attention the first time. She traced the ripples back to their source. An elderly human female was seated cross-legged on a black cloth, her wind-worn flesh leathered by time. Scattered around her were broken pieces of tech, some newer, some vintage. She had her head cocked to one side, facing away from Ahsoka, her hair pulled tight about her scalp. "You have the heart of Kyber," the older woman said. Ahsoka having no idea if it was intended for her because the older woman hadn't turned her head. However, she leaned forward with a hand on the woman's head. "I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me," she whispered back so that only the woman could hear. The woman righted her crooked head, and with tears streaming down her face, acknowledged the incantation with the righteous bow of her head. "The Guardians are well to know their number includes one so far removed from Jeddah," she stoically claimed. "I am not a Guardian, Dumaruki, but I'm one with the Force," Ahsoka said with conviction. Kawani waited patiently behind her. "Ygritte, at your feet lies components I am compelled to obtain, and I can't explain why, other than it is the will of the Force. My dear, take what you require. It is by the wills I was even here today," the older woman replied, pushing some of the items toward Ahsoka. "I have no credit chits," Ahsoka started as Kawani handed her the datapad. She had already dialed into a sub-account and prepared for a credit transfer. "Ishfala, none are required, my Tungu. The will is met and my part is concluded," she voiced as she made a move to get up. Seeing her struggle, Ahsoka offered a hand, which the older woman took. "Trusting hands," a slight giggle issuing forth. "The hold is firm and steady, Ahsoka Tano. Years of gripping a saber, I would suspect. Adeptly," she said with a wink. The shock held only in her eyes, as she was unwilling to give herself away, rashly, to what the woman had said. As she strode up an adjacent alley, she turned over her shoulder and mouthed words only Ahsoka could hear. "Honam Inwi," came the words, and with that she continued without another glance behind her. "What did she say, Ahsoka?" Kawani was curious. Strained as she was to hear, but couldn't over the Narshadan sense-dulling noise. "Only her name. Only her name," Ahsoka said almost to herself. "The mother of a dear friend," she added, still watching after the older woman who had long since lost herself among the crowds. Kawani jabbed her in the shoulder. "What is it?" she questioned. "I never told her my name, Kawani," Ahsoka replied, a sensory tingle running up one side of her and down the other.